Hi, welcome to this lesson on common gospel chords and progressions. Now these are big topics, so we're just going to kind of crack open the potential for all of these things, and there's a long way down the road for all these ideas that we can go down. But here are some common things I find in gospel versions of songs. One of them is 2-5-1 progressions other than in the main scale itself. And this has come up in lots of different lessons that are available on piano, the idea of a 2-5-1. So in the key of C here, D minor 7 to G7 to C. In gospel music, often a 2-5-1 will be a transition to a different chord in the progression. So here's the example we're going to use. I have a progression that is 1, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, 1. So it's just those 6 chords and returning home. Let me show that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so again, that was 1, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5, 1. So one of the things I want to do in there is halfway through, 1, 5, 6, 5. Instead of that 5, a very common gospel thing is on the way to this next 4 chord, I'm going to turn this into a 2, 5, 1. So that does a couple things. It kind of sets up that 4 chord. This is a very strong progression that takes us home to the new place, which is this 4 chord. Another thing it does is if I'm playing in G like this, where there's F sharps everywhere, and I hit that chord, we can tell it's a departure. We're going somewhere new because there's an F natural. Instead of the normal D7, it's a D minor 7. And that's propelling us into a new key temporarily. So that's a 2-5-1 into somewhere else. There's another term worth looking up called secondary dominance. That's the idea of a 7 chord that isn't the 5 of the scale. So we're in the key of G, and I've got a G7. That's the G7 that pulls us to this C chord. Even though we're in the key of G, we've got this dominant 7th chord that's not the D7. That's the D7 is the only 7 chord that's at home in the key of G. So we're adding this other one to propel us to a new place. So let's hear that in situation. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to add onto that a couple other layers. One other thing I want to do, this is kind of related to the secondary dominant thing, is near the beginning of that progression, I want to put a bridging chord on the way to this 6 minor. And what I'm choosing for that could be just a normal B7 on the way to E minor, but I'm going to do something that's even more common, I would say, in gospel music, especially going to that 6 chord, is make that augmented. So that'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and back home. So that's 2 extra layers we've added that make this more of a gospel progression. That idea of the 2-5-1 and this other bridging dominant chord on the way to the minor as well. Another thing that we're going to talk about in the next lesson, but I want to throw into this progression too, is the idea of chords between chords. So I'm going from the 4 to the 5 at the end of this. What I'm going to do to change that is go 4, sharp 4, half diminished, and then back home. And then the one more change that's another chord that we're going to talk about in the other lessons of this course is to finish off a very common gospel 5 chord is this 4 over 5, a C over D. We'll talk about this later, but you can read it on the chord chart now. So with all those things added in, here is the progression again. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1 chord, 5, B augmented, 7, that 2, 5, 1, bridging to the 5, 4 over 5, and back home. And that's some elements of common gospel progressions that I've put into this pretty normal pop progression and made these changes to it to make it more gospel.